we are on the scene. The race for the White House is heating up.
We're beating Biden.
How dare he say that?
If it's breaking news, we're live with the latest coverage. From the White House, the State Department, and Capitol Hill, we know the issues, but above all, we know the players to bring you the latest in-depth analysis on all the key stories that we're covering. I'm Eric Ham. Join me from Washington here on Firstpost America. Hello and welcome to Firstpost America. I'm Eric Ham, coming to you live from the nation's capital in Washington, D.C. And over the next few minutes, we'll take you from the United States and around the world, covering all the top stories of the day. But before that, let's take a look at the latest headlines. Israel says it will replace Hamas as the administrators of Gaza starting in the Strip's north. This after Secretary of State Antony Blinken urged Israel's Defense Minister Yoav Gallant to develop a post-war plan for Gaza. NATO appoints outgoing Dutch Prime Minister Mark Rutte as the alliance's next head. Now Rutte to become the NATO chief on the 1st of October, replacing Norway's Jens Stoltenberg, who's been in office since 2014. Taiwan says it drove away Chinese Coast Guard boats that entered the self-governed island's waters. 4 Chinese boats approached Taiwan's Kinmen Island, which is just 100 miles away from mainland China. The judge in Donald Trump's hush money case eases the gag order restrictions on the convicted felon. This just days before Donald Trump squares off with Joe Biden in the first presidential debate on June 27th. And Brazil's Supreme Court decriminalizes the possession of marijuana for personal consumption. Brazil becomes one of Latin America's last nations to do so, in a move that could drastically reduce its prison population. We begin in the United States, where Washington is considering lifting a ban on the deployment of American military contractors to Ukraine. The removal of this ban will help the Ukrainian troops maintain and repair weapon systems provided by the United States. Now, the policy is still being examined and has not received final approval from President Joe Biden. However, once it goes into effect, the change would mark another significant shift in President Biden's Ukraine policy. The White House has already made significant shifts by allowing Kyiv to use American weapons to strike inside Russia. Now, U.S. officials say after the policy is enacted this year, the Pentagon will provide contracts to American companies to work inside Ukraine for the first time since Russia's invasion in 2022. Now, the commander-in-chief has always insisted that all Americans should stay away from the front lines in Ukraine. And the State Department has explicitly warned U.S. citizens against traveling to Ukraine. Now, to date, the damaged military equipment provided by the United States to Ukraine was being transported to neighboring countries like Poland and Romania for repairs. In addition, the U.S. military has been helping Ukrainian troops with routine maintenance and logistics via video calls. However, this has its limitations as American contractors and troops are not able to work directly on the weapon systems, keeping them out of commission much longer. Now, officials say that one advanced system that will need regular and faster maintenance is the F-16 fighter jet, which will be delivered to the Ukraine this year. Meanwhile, on Tuesday, defense chiefs of Russia and the United States spoke on the telephone in a rare communication. This was after Moscow blamed Washington for a deadly Ukrainian strike in Crimea and warned of retaliation.
Secretary Austin also spoke by phone today with Russian Minister of Defense Andrei Belousov. During the call, the secretary emphasized the importance of maintaining lines of communication amid Russia's ongoing war against Ukraine. The last time Secretary Austin spoke to his Russian counterpart, then Russian Minister of Defense Sergei Shoigu, was on March 15, 2023.
Now, this conversation comes a week after Moscow said diplomatic contacts between Vladimir Putin and President Biden's governments are at an absolute minimum. And with Washington planning to send its military contractors to Kyiv, it seems like these diplomatic ties are certain to be reduced even further. And moving to South America, Venezuela's state oil company has initiated the use of unregistered tankers to provide its closest political ally, Cuba, with crude oil and fuel. These discrete tankers are being deployed to establish new transportation routes aimed at delivering much-needed petroleum products to the island. Now, in the past, both nations exclusively utilized their own vessels for oil transportation. However, maintenance delays have led to the immobilization of several ships. Additionally, the situation is further complicated as a significant portion of the fleets from Venezuela and Cuba remain under U.S. sanctions. Now, in order to circumvent these limitations, vessels belonging to what is known as the Dark Fleet or Invisible Fleet are now operating through intermediaries. These mediums lack Western insurance and manipulate location signals to conceal their activities. For instance, last week, one of the vessels, the Panama flag Neptune 6, was seen near southern Cuba. The vessel was carrying Venezuelan heavy crude and fuel oil for the Caribbean nation, but the ship's transponder signaled a location near the island of Curacao, which is a few hundred miles away from Cuba. The Venezuelan state-owned company's shipping documents reveal that the enterprise had been transporting shipments of crude and fuel oil since June, with a portion of the cargo being offloaded first in Cuba before proceeding to various destinations in Asia to discharge the remaining volume. Now, lack of oil in Cuba has been an issue since 2022, when deadly fires engulfed the island's largest oil terminal. And since then, the Caribbean nation has not been able to fully recover its oil storage capacity. And because of less oil production, Cuba's electrical supply generation has taken a massive hit. Blackouts that were once occasional have now become a daily routine, and logistical issues are further complicating domestic fuel distribution to its aging power plants. The Venezuelan oil is meant to alleviate Cuba's oil crunch, forcing the two nations to use illegal trading methods to navigate around the crippling American sanctions. And now in the Caribbean, Kenyan police officials are now in Haiti to lead the UN-backed peacekeeping mission in an effort to tackle the ongoing gang violence. The first contingent, comprising of 400 officers from Kenya's elite police force unit, have set up their barracks in the capital of Port-au-Prince. They're being briefed by Haitian police about gang strongholds as they gather intelligence ahead of ground operations. Kenyan President William Ruto calls the troop deployment to Haiti a cause for global solidarity against mafias and gangs.
This mission is one of the most urgent, important, and historic in the history of global solidarity. It is a mission to affirm the universal values of community of nations and a mission to take a stand for humanity.
Addressing his officers, the Kenyan president urged them to display the utmost professionalism in tackling the Haitian gangs.
You are expected to embody the highest standards of integrity and professionalism, always bearing in mind that you are representatives of the mission's lead country and our ambassadors of stability and security as a country. Your performance in this assignment must be a firm statement of Kenya's capability and contribution to global peace and security.
Now, the contingent is led by Kenya, but also includes forces from Bangladesh, Benin, Chad, and Barbados. Now, upon their arrival, Haiti's new elected prime minister thanked the international community for sending reinforcements.
We want to take this opportunity to thank all the friendly countries that have supported this initiative. Evidently, behind all the vision, strategy, mandate, this transitional government has to reestablish security in the country to allow over 500,000 people to return to their homes, to relaunch the country, and of course to hold elections as soon as possible.
In February, gangs took over Haiti as they toppled former Prime Minister Ariel Henry's government, forcing the nation to a standstill. Since then, the United States has worked with other Caribbean nations to bring stability to Haiti. The Caribbean Community, or CARICOM, along with the U.S., jointly elected a council to handle the security crisis until proper elections are held. Until then, Prime Minister Gary Conille will remain the interim leader of Haiti as he vows to retake the country from the armed gangs.
The country is going through very difficult times, but we are already committed to resolving the issues. First, they need to lay down their weapons and respect the authority of the state. Then we will see how it goes.
Now, the deployment of Kenyan officers to Haiti comes almost 2 years after the Caribbean nation first requested international assistance. Only time will tell whether the foreign troop deployment to Haiti will be successful in cracking down on gang violence. And moving to India, where Apple supplier Foxconn is rejecting married women who want to work for its iPhone plant. The Taiwan-based manufacturer is facing massive scrutiny after it was revealed that it finds married women troublesome. Foxconn believes that after marriage, women have babies along with other family responsibilities. And apparently, that's a deal breaker for the company. Our next report gets you more details about Foxconn's discriminatory hiring practices.
It's 2024, a time when women are going to space and claiming medals on the global stage. A time when breaking the glass ceiling is a thing of the past. But is that really a reality? Despite women being bold and courageous, there are still an array of setbacks that they continue to face. And the latest stumbling block in their way is Foxconn, a Taiwan-based electronics manufacturer, which is one of the major suppliers to tech giant Apple. It manufactures Apple's most popular products, including the iPhone. But the company has now come under massive scrutiny for its hiring practices in India. A recent investigation has brought to light the discrimination at Foxconn's iPhone assembly plant in the Indian state of Tamil Nadu. The report says that Foxconn systematically excludes married women from employment opportunities. The reason, you may ask? Foxconn is of the view that married women are troublesome. They have more family responsibilities than those who are unmarried. They have babies after marriage, and their family duties could interfere with their work. All of this, the manufacturer believes, contributes to higher absenteeism. But Foxconn's list of concerns doesn't end there. The Apple supplier thinks that traditional jewelry worn by Hindu women, such as metal toe-rings and necklaces, are a potential risk for electrostatic discharge that could damage iPhone components. And to avoid such a hazard, the company is avoiding hiring married women altogether. Foxconn's bias against married women has been confirmed by at least 20 former and current employees. These workers either belong to hiring agencies in India or the company's offices abroad. A former employee said Foxconn's management verbally instructs hiring agencies to avoid recruiting married women. And job advertisements by Foxconn's third-party recruiters explicitly state that they require young and unmarried women at the plant near the city of Chennai. However, the ban on married women is not absolute. The Taiwan-headquartered manufacturer relaxes this practice during high production periods when it faces labor shortages. And despite these discriminatory practices, some women manage to secure jobs by concealing their marital status and removing their ornaments before entering Foxconn's campus. The policies at both Foxconn and Apple prohibit discrimination in hiring based on gender or marital status. The companies have acknowledged lapses in hiring practices in 2022 and said they are working to address these issues. However, the investigation suggests that the discriminatory hiring practices at the plant persisted through 2023 and into 2024. With the latest revelation, Foxconn could face legal challenges as well. In 1965, India's Supreme Court ruling stated that married women cannot be fired on grounds of absenteeism, suggesting that Foxconn's practices might be legally questionable. This is not the first time that Foxconn has faced scrutiny over its culture and work environment. The company itself has proven to be troublesome for its employees. In 2021, protests broke out at the Chennai plant after more than 250 workers suffered food poisoning. This prompted Apple to put the plant on probation for a brief period. And in China, where Foxconn runs the world's biggest iPhone factory, a spate of suicides by its workers back in 2010 raised questions about the company's toxic work conditions. And now, with the latest episode, we are left with two important questions. Will Foxconn be held accountable for its discriminatory hiring process in India? And how long do women have to wait for an equal and inclusive workplace?
Now get ready for a wild ride from the land of the royals. The United Kingdom is gearing up for elections which are just around the corner. And of course, no British election would be complete without a man donning a bin on his head. Meet the dustbin candidate ready to challenge Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, promising to cap croissant prices for over $1. Now you may be wondering, who is this mysterious figure, and will voters actually be receptive to him? Our final report breaks it all down for you.
Get ready for an electrifying scene in North Yorkshire. Imagine a figure cloaked in silver adorned with a massive cylindrical helmet, boldly standing in front of a field of nettles. This enigmatic figure speaks to a camera in a wavering metallic voice, declaring his bid to become the Member of Parliament of Richmond and Northallerton, the very parliamentary constituency of none other than UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak. Enter the one and only Count Binface, who has emerged as a fascinating and constant candidate in British politics. Almost 4 percentage points below Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, and the British are tilting towards Binface. But this is not the first time that the alien character has stirred British politics. The descendant of Lord Buckethead has been shaking up the political scene since the late 1980s. He started by challenging Margaret Thatcher in 1987 and then went on to take on Sir John Major in 1992. After a mysterious disappearance for over a decade, he made a grand return in 2017 to face off against Theresa May. In 2019, both Buckethead and Binface stunned the nation. They announced their intent to contest Boris Johnson's constituency. But the fun did not stop there. In a historic move in 2021, Count Binface threw his hat into the ring by pitting himself against Sadiq Khan for London's mayor. Following the drama of the mayoral elections, Count Binface once again captured the spotlight in 2023 by challenging Lawrence Fox in a presidential bid. And hold on to your seats, because the excitement continues. This year, the self-proclaimed intergalactic space warrior not only contested for this year's mayoral bid, but is also taking on the formidable Rishi. The saga of Binface is just getting started, because voters are confident that on election night they will get to see the Prime Minister standing next to a man in a cardboard spacesuit with a bin on his head. His 24-point manifesto also features some truly unique and bold proposals. For example, he wants to cap the price of croissants at just $1.40 or just over £1. Then, in a move that will delight cinema-goers everywhere, he's also pushing to ban loud snacks from theatres. And that's not all, he's even advocating the construction of at least one affordable house. With such groundbreaking ideas, Binface is definitely making waves. With the D-Day around the corner, the nation now waits with bated breath for July 4th, when the next chapter in the never-ending British political saga will be written. And if Binface does indeed beat Rishi Biggles, will the UK then celebrate Bindependence?
That's our show for today. We certainly thank you so much for tuning in. We hope to see you right back here again tomorrow. Thanks again for watching. From impeachments to inaugurations, if it's a political story, we are on the scene. The race for the White House is heating up.
We're beating Biden. How dare he say that?
If it's breaking news, we're live with the latest coverage. From the White House, the State Department, and Capitol Hill, we know the issues, but above all, we know the players to bring you the latest in-depth analysis on all the key stories that we're covering. I'm Eric Ham. Join me from Washington here on First Post America.